Okay, let's get started with a new tech tip. One of the more popular tech tips I did before was about a free program for your computer, so we're also going to talk about free programs tonight, and I've got a couple of those for you. The first one we're going to talk about is a program called CCleaner, and the second one we're going to talk about is a program called Auslogics Defrag. These are utility programs. A utility program is something that performs a function on your computer that does something to help the computer. So I'm going to show you a couple of these programs tonight. They're free and they'll help you with your computer, help to keep it running a little bit faster for you and a little bit more smooth for you. Like I said, the first one we're going to talk about is called CCleaner. Now, if I've ever worked on your computer before, you've probably already got both of these programs on your computer because I put them there and I used them when I cleaned up your computer for you. If I've never worked on your computer, I'm going to show you where to go and get the programs. If I worked on your computer before, maybe you don't know how to use them, so I'm going to show you how to use them. CCleaner, I'm going to go to Google Chrome and get on the internet. You can use a different browser if you want to. Where I want to get CCleaner from is from a site called FileHippo.com. Hippo is like hippopotamus, so it's FileHippo, FileHippo.com. And as you can see, under popular software, CCleaner is number one on the list. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the CCleaner link. Then I'm going to click on this green button over here that says download the latest version. And it's going to download CCleaner for me. It's going to pop up and ask me where to download the program to. That's because I've told my browser to do that. On your browser, it may be automatic to send it into the downloads folder, so we're going to go ahead and put it there. And I'm going to click Save. And it's downloading the program. Actually, it's already downloaded it. This little green thing down here is showing that Google Chrome is checking out the file and making sure I didn't download something bogus or with a virus or something. So now that the green is finished, we're going to go ahead and click this to make the file run. It'll be a little bit different if you use a different browser, where that button is or how you get to it. But anyway, you want to run the program you just downloaded. You may have to go find it in your downloads folder. And when you double click on it, we're going to tell it to run. It's asking if we're sure, and yes, I'm sure, so I'm going to go ahead and run it. And I'm going to click next when the install program comes up. And it's got a bunch of default things that are checked here. We want to leave these all checked, every one of them. Now, I have installed this on my computer before in the past. It's something I use all the time. So it remembers stuff from the past. I actually uninstalled it before so I could show you how this works. But it remembers what I did in the past. And if you've never installed it, there may be another screen that comes up. You may have to click Next, and then it'll have a couple more check boxes where it wants to install something else for you. Maybe Google Toolbar or Google Chrome if you don't already have that. This happens a lot when you install programs, and that's something you always want to pay attention to when you're installing a program. When you're installing, don't just click Next, 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 Finish. Pay attention to what's checked. If you've never installed this before, or I never put it on there, you go to the next screen and it's offering to install Google Toolbar or Yahoo Toolbar. Uncheck that. You don't want to install anything additional. The reason they do this, and this goes back to the part of these programs being free, is that's how they make money. A free program either makes money because people donate some money to them, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later, or they make money by bundling in other stuff with it. For instance, if it's going to add a Google toolbar, Google is paying them a few cents every time somebody leaves that box checked and installs the Google toolbar while their program is installing. So we don't have to worry about that now because it remembers that I don't want any of that other stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and click install. And now it's installed on my computer, and it's going to leave 2 check boxes here. I don't need to read the release notes, so I'm going to uncheck that and just leave the box checked where it says Run CCleaner, and I'm going to click Finish. Now CCleaner's opened up. I'm going to make it full screen so you can see it a little bit better. What CCleaner does is it goes through your computer and it finds all kind of junk files. Every time you install something on your computer, it leaves behind extra temporary files that it used while it was installing. If you do Windows updates, that leaves behind temporary files. Every time you go to a website on the internet, it leaves temporary internet files and cookies. All this stuff builds up on your computer and it slows it down over time. So you want to get rid of this stuff. It's not necessary once it's already done its thing. I'm going to talk a little bit more about cookies. Maybe you've heard the term and you're not sure what it is, or maybe you've never heard the term. A cookie is a little piece of information that a website will put on your computer to help remember what you've done and what you're doing. For instance, if you go to Amazon.com and you're going shopping, you might be searching for a blouse one time, or you might be searching for a car tire the next time. It remembers the things you've searched before, so it shows you a little thing here. This is what you searched for recently. That's what a cookie does. That's a good cookie that Amazon is using to help show you what you've searched for before so you can get to it more quickly. But there are also bad cookies which track you all across the internet, every site you go to, so it can see what you're doing and pop up advertisements for you. So cookies are sometimes helpful. Cookies are sometimes malicious. Either way, there's no need for them to be there after you've been to the site and you're done with the site. So we're going to get rid of these cookies. Now, one of those check boxes when we first installed this said Enable Intelligent Cookie Scan. What the Intelligent Cookie Scan does is it's not going to delete cookies from important sites that it thinks you go to, such as your email or Facebook or Twitter, sites you normally log into. It's not going to remove those, so you don't have to worry about that. So we do want to go ahead and get rid of them, but if in case you don't want to, you can go over here on the left side and you can tell it what you want to clean and what you don't want it to clean. But for now, we're going to leave all that the way it is, and we're going to click Analyze down here. And it's going to go through my system and find all these junk files that need to be gotten rid of. As you could see, that bar going across there to get to 100%, it only took a second or two to do that. And that's because I run this often. If you've never run it before on your computer, or if I worked on your computer and I ran it when I had it a year ago or 2 years ago, you're going to have a lot of stuff built up in here, and it may take 5 minutes or 10 minutes to go through here and analyze everything and find everything it needs to remove. Just let it do its thing, and then hopefully we're going to run it more often in the future, and it's not going to take but a few seconds to do it. Now, I clicked Analyze because I like to see what it's going to get rid of. I know at this point, because I ran it recently, that it's not getting rid of anything important, so I'm not going to look at it. For most of you, you're not going to understand what all this is, and it's not going to matter. So you could just go ahead and click Run Cleaner and skip the whole Analyze part, and it will just go ahead and clean it. So that's what I'm going to do next. I want it to get rid of all this. I don't want to go in and change anything. But if I did want to, I could go in and tell it, wait, don't delete that. So I'm going to click Run Cleaner now. And of course it's going to pop up and ask me, am I sure I want to do it? Because it is going to delete these permanently from the computer. And I do want to do it, so I click OK. And now it's removed everything. And you see it took 1.5 seconds for it to do it. If you run this often, that's all it's going to take on your computer as well. I run this every day or every other day. And that's a good practice for you too. So now you've seen how CCleaner works, and it will help keep your computer running a little bit faster for you, especially on the internet. One thing you want to be mindful of, and I'm going to show you here, the first time you run it, you want to click on Options down here, and you want to click on Monitoring. And there's going to be two check boxes here: Enable System Monitoring and Enable Active Monitoring. You want to uncheck both of these. And it's going to, of course, pop up and say, are you sure? We think you ought to leave it checked. And you just tell it yes. You've only got to do this one time. What the monitoring does is it will leave CCleaner running in your computer all the time, and it will keep up with all these temporary files that are building up, so it won't take as long to do that initial scan. But what it's doing is it's running in the background, and anything that's running in the background is slowing your computer down. So it's kind of defeating the purpose. So I like to uncheck both of these, but you could leave them checked if you'd like it to do that. Anyway, so once those are unchecked, just close out the program and you're done. Now the next program we're going to talk about is Auslogics Disk Defrag. It's a disk defragmentation program. What disk defragmentation is on your computer, you may have heard this term hard drive, and you may be confused about what it actually is. A lot of people are. The hard drive is the part of your computer. It's a hardware component that's inside your computer that actually stores all the programs and all the data and all the information on your computer. A regular hard drive has a metal platter in it, and that platter spins around at either 5,400 or 7,200 revolutions per minute, and there's a little needle that goes across that platter, and it writes stuff to the drive as you download or install, and it reads stuff from the drive as you need to pull it up on your screen. If you're old like me, it's very similar to a vinyl record like we used to have back in the past. You youngsters might not know what that is or have never seen one, but a lot of y'all will know what that is. And it works the same way. The needle runs from inside to outside and back and forth to read the data on your hard drive. What happens is, number one, because it's spinning so quickly and Windows is wanting to do the work for you quickly, it's putting chunks of information all over that drive when you go to download a file. Or it's possible that you're downloading a very large file and there's not one space one solid space on the drive for it to put that file. So it's got to put pieces of it in a bunch of different locations. What that does is, if you go back and think about the vinyl record, and those of you that aren't old enough to remember vinyl records, you might go look that up on YouTube and actually see what one looks like when it's spinning on a turntable. But what happens is there's pieces all over the hard drive, and that needle's got to go back and forth hundreds of times to assemble that file together before it can open it up on your screen for you to use. So what a disk defragmentation program is it takes all those fragments, pieces of the file, puts them together in one solid piece so that that needle only has to go to one section on that drive to read that file, and it can bring it up much more quickly on your screen for you. It will make your computer run quite a bit faster. This is the program, Auslogics Disk Defrag. If you go and download the program, which I hope you do, it may look a little different from this. I've got probably a version or two older than what you're going to get now. Most programs, you want to always have the latest version, but a disk defragmentation program really only does one thing, which is defragment the disk. So I don't think that the version matters much, and I haven't upgraded in a while. Now, one thing I want to tell you is we talked about the metal platter that spins around. That's a normal computer mechanical hard drive. If you have a very new computer that's very expensive, you may have what's called a solid state hard drive. You do not want to run a disk defragmentation program on a solid state hard drive. 99% of you are going to have a regular mechanical hard drive, so it's not going to matter. The only way you would have a solid state drive is probably if you paid more than $1,000 for your computer, if it was built for gaming or high-end video work or a business server, something like that, a very expensive computer. So that's something to consider. And if you've got one of those really expensive computers, you probably know whether or not you have a solid state drive. But like I said, 99% of you, you're not going to have that, so you don't have to worry about it. I do have a solid state drive in my computer, which is my C drive, which is what most of you are going to have, that comes up here in the box. And I don't want to run it on my C drive. Now, I have extra drives in my computer, which you're probably not going to have on yours. So I'll go ahead and choose one of the other drives to show you with. My D drive, all the rest of my drives are mechanical drives. My D drive here, all I would do is select it and then click Next. And Auslogics this program will begin to defragment the drive. All these little boxes here represent what are called clusters on the hard drive. And that's where Windows can go and put all these little pieces, and there may be a piece up here in the corner and a piece down here and a piece over here. It needs to put those together so that they're in a line, which it can then read much more quickly. Now, as you can see, as it's doing this, it's showing you how many files are fragmented, and then it's going through and showing you as it defragments them. On mine right now, it's 0 and 0, and that's because I run this fairly often, and I keep my drive up to date. So there's one that finally found one file that's fragmented, and now it's fixing that particular file. We'll let it go ahead and do its thing. Actually, this is a fairly big file. This is a video file, so it may take a little bit of time. Anyway, when you first run this, like CCleaner, it's going to take a little while for it to do the first time. But if you run it fairly often, it's not going to take that long to run this through. And this is a large drive, a 1 terabyte drive, and this particular video file that it's defragmenting at the moment is very large. So you're not going to see it taking this much time. Probably the first time you run this program on your hard drive, it may take an hour to 2 hours to complete the task. So it's something you want to do when you can walk away from the computer and go do something else and let it do its thing, and then you come back and it's finished and done. Now I'm going to go ahead and stop it now to kind of speed along this video a little bit. Anyway, once it gets through, it's gonna come to a screen like this, and it's gonna show you that it found some junk files probably, and it wants you to click this thing that says scan and remove junk. Now what that is Auslogics is the company that makes this program, Disk Defrag. They also make a bunch of other programs. The Disk Defragmenter is free, but it's wanting to sell you a program to go through and find junk files on your computer and remove them. This junk file removal is pretty much exactly the same thing that CCleaner does, which I just showed you before. So you don't need this. You just need to ignore it and click finish, and then it's over with. Now, as you can see, CCleaner put a little icon on my desk when I installed it, and you see there's a little hole up here. This is where I normally keep it. That's because I keep it in the middle of my screen at the top. It's probably, other than my internet browsers, the program that I use the most on my computer. Now, as promised before, I want to talk to you a little bit about this free software stuff. These people that make this free software, they made it out of the goodness of their heart, and they allow you to have it for free and use it on your computer. Some of them do that for good purposes. Some of them do it as they're learning to program. They make this free program to put out until they get more experience, and then maybe they go to work for Microsoft or Apple or whoever and get better jobs. They're free, but it's not free for those guys to make them. So if you like this free software, give them a little donation, $2, $5. If you go to their site, they've got a little button usually where you can click donate, or you might purchase one of their pay programs from them. I mean, you don't have to, but it's a good thing to do. They're helping you out, and you could help them out too. And it goes the same for any free software stuff that I've talked about in the past, or anything that I might talk about in the future. If it's free, it's not really free, because they're spending their time doing it, and they've got employees. They're paying them money to, they've got to come to work every day 40 hours, so they're spending money. It's not actually free. You don't have to pay to get it on your computer, but you could help them out a little bit. Anyway, that's what I wanted to show you tonight. 2 real good utility programs that'll help keep your computer clean. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to getting with you soon with a new tech tip. Thanks, everybody, and good night.